Dricus Du Plessis is the middleweight champion of the world, but how does he keep on doing it? It seems like he has plot armor with the amount of times he's finishing the elite of the elite, former champions, legends, Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland, Robert Whittaker, and more. So today we're going to be breaking down how Dricus keeps on winning. Coming into the UFC and after his first couple of fights, a lot of people, including myself, kind of counted Dricus Du Plessis out because of his wild, crazy style. But when he fought Robert Whittaker, where he was a huge underdog in that fight, he just plowed right through him, dropping him on the feet, destroying him on the ground, and getting a TKO finish, which most people didn't see coming. And that's where we kind of started to see the plot armor of Dricus Du Plessis just start to kick in, as he just beat the top guys. He was supposed to fight Israel Adesanya shortly after that. Ends up Sean Strickland fights Izzy, takes the belt himself, and Dricus has just kept on winning as he's set to rematch Sean Strickland next week in Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, this one's definitely going to be a very important one for DDP's career and how his legacy plays out. The first fight between them was definitely a very close fight. Some people had it either way for Strickland or for Dricus, but nonetheless, Dricus was able to pick up that dub and the start of his title run. But now going into the rematch, after just coming off of the win against Israel Adesanya, this is going to be a big one for Dricus to prove himself as a long-time champion. When it comes to how he's able to win some of these fights, you got a guy who, as he appears to be, not like a traditional or very technical striker, but he's still able to have power in his shots and land big bombs on opponents, such as Robert Whittaker, in which he was able to drop him and then stop him completely. And he's very good at mixing in his striking and grappling, was able to wrestle against top opposition, including Izzy, being able to choke him out. And in general, the guy is a pretty big guy for the middleweight division. Thick frame, and he's able to take shots quite well while coming forward, and that's one of his best attributes, to be honest. At times he's able to pressure while throwing shots simultaneously, and in some ways just coming forward like a zombie at times with his very deceptive gas tank. And when you look at him, it might not seem like he's able to keep going for a 5-round fight, and it seems that sometimes he may be slowing, but he's always picking it back up for 5-round fights especially.
Yeah, especially after supposedly he got like a nose surgery, and before the Robert Whittaker fight, he was having trouble with breathing, but since then he's looked better than ever, stopping Whittaker, stopping Izzy, who were two of the top guys in the middleweight division for so long, since like 2018. Those are the number 1 and 2 guys, and he just plowed through them, finishing both of them within like a year and a half. So I mean, it may not look pretty, but what Dricus does is very effective, and you said it right there. It's because he's so well-rounded. It's because he can do it all. He can mix it up. He can strike, he can grapple. He's a big wrestler. Even though he is a former welterweight, he is still a big middleweight now. And this is also kind of an example of the new era and the fresh blood in the middleweight division and in the UFC in general. We're seeing this new breed come up simultaneously. Dricus Du Plessis, only 31 years old, out of South Africa, and he's just come in the UFC and taken the world by storm, but he just seems to keep on winning. So can he do it again against Sean Strickland? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say as of right now, I'm starting to favor Dricus in this matchup. I think, in general, if he's able to mix it up against Strickland, make sure Strickland isn't able to get comfortable in his style and keeping to his boxing heavy, teep heavy style, and can irritate Strickland to the point where he's able to pressure him back and not let him get comfortable, it could definitely increase his odds heavily. And mixing in the grappling, always keeping Strickland on his toes and just never comfortable. I think that's the important part for him to win this fight. And also to what you're saying, I do think that within this new era of the UFC, Dricus is one of the catalysts in which he's able to do everything quite well. You never really see these days champions that have a hole in their game, nothing too good. Maybe the only exception, Alex Pereira, who's primarily a striker, but that guy just puts people out. But in general, these days, you just see guys who are so well-rounded, so versatile, and I'd definitely say Dricus Du Plessis is one of those guys. He's just able to do most things, and there's never anywhere you can just be comfortable with him. He's always going to be dangerous. He's got power in his shots. He's got good enough technique on the feet where he's able to hurt people with his strikes. He's got some decent kicks too where he's able to showcase. And of course the wrestling and the grappling too. So he's definitely one to look out for, and one who could possibly have a quite lengthy title reign potentially, depending on how that Hamza Chimaev matchup goes.
Yeah, honestly, a pretty unlikely champion. Like, who thought a couple years ago when this guy was going life and death with Darren Till and having a tough fight against Derek Brunson, that he would be at the top of the middleweight division, beating everyone. But here he is, and he just keeps on winning, undefeated in the UFC. He's built different. He's just that guy. He's a tank. He's mauling everyone. And when it comes to a rematch, I got to agree. I feel like Sean Strickland kind of comes out and does the same thing every fight. So a rematch would favor the more unorthodox, wild guy in Dricus Du Plessis. So you never really know what he's going to do. You never know the approach he's going to come with. Sean Strickland, we know he's just going to come out there, jab, teep. He's effective with what he does, but once you've already seen that, it might be a little bit easier for Dricus to start figuring him out. I'm not sure how good Strickland will be in a rematch here. Yes, he is getting better as well, and we've seen that with Strickland's career, but Dricus just keeps finding a way to win. So I don't see why we would bet against him and not see him doing it again here. In his first 5-rounder against Strickland, he was looking sharp, and he excelled not just early, but also the later the fight went on. He cut Strickland with, I'm pretty sure Strickland was not able to see for a bit of that fight.
And if he's able to get past Sean Strickland in this rematch, and how does he favor in some potential matchups against the likes of Hamza Chimaev, now Nasruddin Imavov, who just beat Israel Adesanya, finishing him. So I'd say that main next guy is Hamza Chimaev, and he is a tough task for anyone. A lot of people currently, after that Whitaker win from Hamza, are starting to favor him to become champion. I personally think the odds are favoring Hamza. It's tough to say in a 5-round fight though if his cardio would go. And as well, Dricus, it's not like this guy is an easy guy to put away early, which is typically how Hamza Chimaev is able to beat his opponent. So I would not say Dricus is a cakewalk at all, and it's very possible he keeps reigning. But how do you think a fight between him and Hamza Chimaev goes?
I mean, when you look at it, Hamza definitely seems like the bigger talent, the wrestling ability, the pure technical side of it, but at the same time, when you look at the consistency, it seems like that really leans more towards Dricus. Hamza is getting sick left and right, and he's pulling out of different fights. He's not always the same. Against Kamaru Usman, he kind of got drowned a little bit in the second and third rounds. Now, if that's a championship fight, I feel like Usman would have taken that. But he had a couple injuries going into that fight. Who knows how he would look at the championship level if he'd be able to match a guy like Dricus. I think he is favored just because of the talent, the pure wrestling ability, ragdolling everyone. But would he be able to do that to a guy like Dricus maybe in the first round? But does he slow down? Does he maybe not look the same after a little bit? Because Dricus is breaking all these guys and he always manages to win. So I feel like that Hamza fight would be the best fight. If Dricus is able to get past Strickland, that would be a big fight in the middleweight division for that belt. But right now, Dricus is focused on Strickland, and this is going to be an interesting fight that I feel like Dricus is going to be able to get through.
But that's our take on the skill set of Dricus Du Plessis and his potential future from here. But let us know down below how you see Dricus' career playing out, and if he beats Sean Strickland in the rematch. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out the video on screen for more Punch Talk.